I'm not sure how relevant this video is going to be in the future, but if it does get outdated, that'll be a good thing. With Stardust Crusaders completing its Toonami run, new JoJo fans will get used to the art style of Diamond is Unbreakable and Golden Wind. This means characters will no longer have immense muscular figures and from now on become very thin and curvy. Around 2013, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure started to gain some attention, mostly because of Joseph Joestar and the Battle Tendency anime. JoJo fandom struck the US hard with Warner Bros. And Viz Media licensing the manga and anime, causing a lot of people to start worshipping the series as the very best of all shonen. A lot of praise has been placed on its characters and its art, but not many people are willing to watch other series of its time period. Given its successful modern anime adaptations, JoJo has gotten a free pass on its age when it comes to the 2010 anime community. JoJo is a product of the 1980s who happened to receive an anime adaptation at the prime of HD anime, Blu-ray, social media, and internet streaming, causing an almost immediate acceptance of JoJo despite its older qualities. For example, people couldn't get into Toriko because of its muscular character designs, yet a few years later, anime fans gravitated towards Araki's characters in JoJo 2012 and Stardust Crusaders 2014, anime filled to the brim with muscles. Granted, there's differences in the styles of writing which cause people to lean towards JoJo, but the purpose of this video is to talk about art styles of 80s manga. Fans are very willing to read the old JoJo manga from the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, yet those same people consider older works such as Asta no Joe, Kinnikuman, Kongo Bancho, and Toriko as unappealing. The JoJo fandom has gotten too obsessed with its love for JoJo that they block out anything resembling the 80s and worship them as, hey, that looks like JoJo because only Araki draws like that. It's gotten to the point where JoJo fans will confuse manly characters as JoJo references despite Araki not being the creator of this format, the manly art style. The origin of the manly art style is something I'm unsure who to credit as the original creator. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, there's been a few artists who drew characters in a very masculine way. These men and boys are easily identified through their thick eyebrows, sideburns, scars, slightly realistic noses, dark skin, black hair, and the facial expressions of anger, hot-blooded spirit, or just being stoic. Supposedly, Asta no Joe was the first to depict a realistic muscular body in manga. I don't know for certain, but during the 1970s there was an increase of manly themed manga, but they reached their prime in the 1980s. During 1983, an artist named Tetsuo Hara would come up with a certain look to make a series one of a kind, causing a lot of imitators of his art style. It began with a manga pilot known as Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star. With the debut of his two Hokuto no Ken pilots, Hara created an image never seen before in manga, a main character with a superb body. At the time, it was the closest thing to a realistic human anatomy of a bodybuilder. Prior to Hara, realistic body shapes can be seen in Tatsunoko anime such as Karate Master, Gatchaman, and Hurricane Polymer, but this was something else entirely. When the actual manga premiered in the pages of Shonen Jump, everyone is freaking huge, and this became more evident as the series kept running. This art style stands out even with its 1984 anime adaptation. Shonen Jump heroes and villains don't look like this. This is made funnier when you look at J-Star's Victory Versus. Kenchiro's cutscene illustrations look super detailed when compared to the rest of the cast. Even the models of manly characters really stand out as if they stepped out of Ken's rage. Fast forward to 2018, and that art style still looks amazing to this day with the Yakuza studio game Hokuto ga Gotoku or Lost Paradise. Even Polygon Pictures manages to cover Hara's 2000s art style in Fist of the Blue Sky Regenesis. For a total of 5 years, the popularity of Hokuto no Ken spread like wildfire. Other artists started imitating Hara's character design, specifically Kenshiro, creating series such as Sakigake Otokojuku, Super Dr. K, Riki-Oh, and of course, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Once the 1990s came, other mangakas started their own versions of manly characters which include Berserk, Baka the Grappler, Hajime no Ippo, and Tough. And by the late 2010s, series such as The Seven Deadly Sins and Toriko would cite Fist of the North Star and Kinnikuman as their inspirations for manly muscled characters. While many body types and characterization exist for manly characters, it's clear that it's become a somewhat rare art form. Modern examples of the manly art style are still present, but it's nowhere near as recognized when compared to the 1980s. Modern anime don't focus on masculinity as its selling point and usually combine it with other forms of entertainment, which is what Araki did to survive in the 1990s. Araki's art style wasn't always based on body power as seen in his earlier work BT, but by the time he made Bao and Gorgeous Irene, his illustrations started to change. Once Araki started Phantom Blood, he would imitate Tetsuo Hara's work in Fist of the North Star. Admittedly, Araki's style was still different enough as some panels feature very wide and large body types, but his work improved into a refined shape. Battle tendency possibly shows the most visual emphasis of the manly art style, since most characters are quite revealing, showing off their figure. By the time he worked on Stardust Crusaders, Araki's art would gradually get defined as he became comfortable drawing muscular characters and perfected his craft at the start of Diamond is Unbreakable. That is, until he decided to change his style to be more original, and since the story was no longer about obtaining the strongest body, he ditched the manliness altogether. A lot of the JoJo visuals do borrow stylization from Fist of the North Star, best shown through the shaded eyes and rapid fire punching, but Araki does have his own manly style that I haven't seen anywhere else. For starters, the number 7 shaped line on the side of faces. The other is drawing these lines across muscles and wrists, and most notably, the odd shoulder shapes. This form would be more common in the 2014 anime adaptation and would return in the Golden Wind anime. The Stardust Crusaders designs also include this crescent moon shape on their waist, along with some little dots on their clothes. Speaking of clothes, in the manga, Jotaro's shirt in some panels would almost be non-existent. Jotaro's shirt is so tight that his muscles pop right through. Basically, the anime version uses better models of Araki's art style rather than the early versions of the manga. Before 2012, many fans of manly anime, or manime, would notice the resemblance to Fist of the North Star through characters such as Jonathan and Jotaro, but also because of its art style made famously through the OVA series. At the time, the 2000s was when Fist of the North Star and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure would be the most active franchises that had a manly art style, be it through the PS2 games, OVAs, and anime movies. Most anime character designs of these series were done by Junichi Hayama, an animator who specializes in drawing manly things. His career include working on 80 series such as Sakigake Otokojuku and Fist of the North Star, and has made several sketches celebrating various characters. Therefore, Junichi's involvement in the 2000 JoJo OVA has a stronger emphasis on the manliness. Given their similar backgrounds, sometimes JoJo characters would have a greater resemblance to Fist of the North Star via animated format, and it's all because of this guy. However, you could recognize a Junichi version apart from a Hara or Araki design by their noses. Junichi has a certain way of drawing facial features surrounding the nose area, so when characters yell or get angry, they make a certain scowl which curves the nose. The purpose of this video was to tell you that Araki isn't the creator of the manly art style, and how he has connections to Fist of the North Star. One example that you're not gonna like is Araki ripped off some panels from the North Star manga, such as the Jaggy Say My Name pose, Raoh giving a beatdown to Koryu, and that one fight against Inasura in Fist of the North Star 2. Araki's strengths in his version of drawing manly characters are the postures and more evidently, the color choices in his paintings. As the JoJo series went on, his ideas of masculinity changed and eventually faded into what you see today. JoJo at its start was a manly manga which peaked during battle tendency, but I believe the anime versions of Stardust Crusaders, both the 2000s and 2010s, showed a greater presence of manliness throughout the entirety of its run. There's many other artists and series I didn't mention, but I want to save that for a bigger video, specifically on the manly or manime subgenre as a whole. This video was to give you an idea that manly characters began way before JoJo, and others who came after JoJo aren't necessarily inspired by it. Baki the Grappler is one example that I don't know what Itagaki's inspirations were. Meanwhile, in 2018, Baki, Kinnikuman, and Gogo 13 are still making new chapters since their debut in the 1900s. In summary, I like the manime art style and I wish more series had it, and the next time I want to focus on something else that is not a JoJo reference being Bancho, Sukeban, and Delinquent. I'm the anime hero and I review anime so you can enjoy it.